All right, guys, so part 2, we're gonna go ahead and finish off the mobility that I was talking about in the last video. If you haven't done so, check that video out because it's gonna go into what I'm gonna do today. I'm gonna finish off some of the mobility session that I've done for the entire week. So let's get after it. All right, guys, so we're gonna follow through with the rest of the mobility. So what I have here is a mini band, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go through rotations of the upper body, and this is gonna follow along, like I said, with the first video that we did a couple of days ago, where I went through the controlled articular rotations and the foam rolling. So this is gonna be a continuation of that. So go to the first video so you can find that out. We'll put the link down below. All right, so now what we're gonna do is grab this mini band. I'm gonna go ahead, palms down. From here, I'm just gonna go ahead and tighten up my body, and then I'm just gonna go up over my head, reaching up as far as I can, and then I'm gonna go all the way around. It's called banded dislocates, right? So we're gonna go all the way up, get a good stretch on the pecs, anterior delt, back around. Now, as I'm coming up, I'm going into elevation. So I'm pulling my shoulder blades up, and then from there, I'm gonna squeeze my shoulder blades together in retraction, keeping it tight, keeping that band tight, barely touching the back, and then coming back up, squeezing the shoulder blades again, and then raising up as far as I can, and then protraction up at the top, okay? So again, we'll do it again. We got 5 repetitions on the dislocates, up and around, making sure the rib cage is stacked. We're not opening up too far here. Again, we're gonna go around and stretching out the biceps, stretching out the anterior delt, stretching out the pecs. And also I'm activating the back muscles too as well. Up and around. 5 repetitions there. Now I'm gonna follow along with that. Okay, so I also still want to activate. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna do a band pull apart. Now, 2 ways I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go ahead and do pronated and supinated. Pronated with the hands down, right? From here, I'm gonna lock out my arms, as you can see. And then again, I'm gonna go into protraction. I'm gonna retract, and then I'm gonna pull apart. Protraction, retraction, pull apart. So I'm getting that full rotation, right? Full extension, full range of motion. Again, 5 repetitions, pulling apart. Now we're gonna switch our grip up, go supinated. This one's a little bit more difficult, especially those that have that kyphotic or upper cross syndrome where they're kind of rolled forward. This is really good to get them into that position, or get yourself in a position where you have to supinate and draw the shoulder blades down. So it allows for better posture, right? And it allows you to hit the muscles that you need to, especially from the rear delt, rhomboids, traps, all that there. It allows that to happen without upward rotation when you go into a pronated position. So if you have athletes or yourself, that when you do the band pull apart, you're kind of going up like this, go down, pull the band apart with the hands upward, and then you can help eliminate that, or at least reduce that upward rotation. All right, here we go. Same thing, shoulder blades are down and packed. We'll go forward, pull, and pull apart. Retract, pull apart. When you retract, try to get them shoulder blades packed down, so you're using your lats to stabilize the shoulders into that depression. So you have elevation, depression, right? So pull, back up. Retract, pull. Okay guys, so that's the band pull aparts and that's the band dislocates. Now I'm gonna go down to the floor. I'm gonna still utilize the band. So again, this is a mini band. You can get this from Elite FTS and you can pretty much get it anywhere online. So a mini band will do. And if you are a little bit stronger, you can go a little bit heavier, but I wouldn't recommend it. And then if you have a little bit more weakness, then go ahead and go with the micro mini band, so a little bit smaller. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the band, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it around my shoulders here. Right? And then just gonna interlock it here in the webbing of my hands like this, okay? So make sure that it's around your shoulders, right? And not up here, not down here. It's right around the shoulders, right where that end cap of the delt meets, all right? From here, get in that push-up position. And what you're gonna do is called a scap push-up. So I'm gonna use the band as a tactile cue to drive into protraction and retraction. So get in push-up position here. From there, I'm just gonna go ahead, retract, pulling my shoulder blades together, and then from there, I'm gonna protract and drive my hands through the ground with my back going up into the ceiling. Retract, protract. Retract, protract. Retract, protract. Roughly around 8 to 10 repetitions here. Again, what we're trying to accomplish is that rotation of the shoulder. We're trying to get retraction, protraction, so we're able to glide through ranges of motion, especially when you're talking about combat sports, running, throwing, things like that. We definitely want to have that full range of motion, or that good range of motion in your scap and in your T-spine in general. So, want to increase the T-spine mobility. Again, when you're talking about a joint by joint approach, when you're looking at it from the ground up, you're talking about ankles being more mobile, knees being stable, hips being mobile, lumbar being stable and strong, and then your thoracic needs to be mobile, and then obviously your C-spine, we want to be stable there too as well. So joint by joint approach, hitting the T-spine, making sure you have great mobility there. All right, let's get on to the next one. All right, guys, so now we're gonna go ahead and go down to the ankles. Again, with the shoulders, ankles, and hips, we want them to be mobile. So I'm gonna go back down to my feet, or to my ankles, and I'm gonna get more dorsiflexion. The reason why I want more dorsiflexion, or where I can drive my toes to my shin, right? When you go to squat, you wanna have optimal dorsiflexion so that you can get into a full, good range squat. There's no limited range of motion. When you have limited range of motion and dorsiflexion, you can't really get down into the position. Usually you'll see a lot of this where the heels come off, right? Or guys will just kind of fall over, right? So we wanna make sure that we have that. Another thing that you're gonna need because of dorsiflexion is gonna help you with running. It's gonna help you with, if you're a wrestler, getting those takedowns, all right? So this is how we're gonna do it. So again, when you're talking about dorsiflexion, we want to get into the end range first. So we're gonna get into a passive stretch, and we're gonna use an FRC principle called an end range liftoff. I'm gonna use the wall here to gauge my distance. Now, depending on where your mobility lies is gonna dictate how far you are away from the wall. Now, for me, I can go usually a fist width away from the wall. Then from there, I'm gonna drive my knee into that wall to get that full flexion. Now, notice that range of where my shin angle is similar to an acceleration phase in a gait pattern, right? So that's that late gait stance. That's where we want to work towards, because that's going to help you with propulsion. That's going to help you with being accelerating out of a hole or of a position. If you're sprinting, if you're going into a takedown, if you're a wrestler. All right, so from there, I'm going to get into this range here. Now, two things you want to be mindful of. When you go into the position, you don't want to collapse and then drive the knee in, right? That's false range of motion, right? So we want to be able to keep that dorsiflexion stable, but also make sure that we have a better arch in the foot. So you don't want to collapse and drive in. You want to create the arch and then drive forward, right? So create that arch, you drive that knee towards the wall. Then from there, you get a good stretch, roughly about 1 to 2 minutes, right? So you're stretching mainly the soleus, right? So the soleus, the lower calf, like we rolled out before on the last video. And you're gonna get that stretch there. You'll feel a little bit in the Achilles. And again, like I said, you wanna make sure that knee's aligned. Then from there, you're gonna activate the muscles of the shin muscles here, the front part, in dorsiflexion. So you're gonna dorsiflex the foot from the end range. And as I do that, I'm gonna pull off the wall. As I pull off the wall, I'm gonna keep my toes driving to my shins. So now we have active mobility here. We're driving up as hard as we can for 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then we're going back into the wall for a deeper stretch, another 2 minutes on the hold. So you got a 2-minute hold, a 10-second active hold, 2-minute passive hold, 10-second active hold. The goal again is to activate the muscles of the antagonist to allow for that stretch to happen in the bottom part of the calf. And that's gonna help you have that, what we call active in-range control or true mobility, right? So I say do 3 sets of these, 2 minutes, 10 seconds, 2 minutes, 10 seconds, 3 sets total. You never want to neglect internal and external rotation of the hip. That's how you're going to be able to run. That's how you're going to be able to rotate. That's how you're going to be able to move efficiently. So usually a lot of people have immobility in one side or the other. So they'll have what's called an asymmetry. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're as symmetrical as possible, but not hindering performance. Also, the goal is to make sure that we both have evenness, right? If even that's a word, I don't know if it is, I made it up. But if it is, run with it, right? We got internal, external rotation. So we want as much internal rotation on the left side as we do the right, and vice versa, external rotation on the right and the left. Usually what you'll see is one side of the body, especially combat sport athletes, will have more external rotation on one side and have more internal rotation on the other. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a flow movement, where this is called an iso movement prep, where you're actually gonna flow through internal and external rotation. Now the goal really is to allow for that range of motion to occur in the hip capsule, but we're also activating the muscles that cross that joint to allow for that motion to occur, right? So I need the glute med to turn on, I need the adductors to turn on, and I also wanna make sure that we're eliminating any compensation patterns through this motion, right? So we gotta make sure that our core is stiffened and stable, right? Remember we talked about hips being mobile, lumbar being stable. So again, when you're trying to move a joint, right, and you're trying to disassociate that joint from the adjacent joint, you need to make sure that that adjacent joint is strong and stable to give yourself a base so that you can move freely. Here we go. So we're here, locked in. For me, I'm gonna open up and I'm driving. Now, with this, let me reiterate, I'm pulling, or I'm pushing rather, right? My knee down here, so I'm getting away from the ground. I'm pushing this into the ground, this one's pulling away from the ground, right? So I'm pulling away, pushing down. I'm trying to basically, essentially pull these two apart here. I'm using the muscle on this side, on the bottom side of my knee, and I'm using the muscle on the opposite side, right? So we're getting both external rotation on both sides, opening up the hip. I'm gonna go to the full range that I can. Then when I get to an end point where I can't go anymore, I'm gonna go ahead and lift this foot up slightly. This knee's gonna come off the ground, and I'm gonna drive this knee down. As this comes down, I'm gonna slowly work this into a passive internal rotation. From there, then back to the center, 90-90. Again, hand comes behind, I open up again, as far as I can, rotate, big stretch here in the groin, drive it down, squeeze, then back over, right? And that would be one, right? So that's one repetition back and forth. Usually you wanna do 3 to 5 repetitions. Go. Make sure you're breathing through this entire motion. Maintaining core stiffness. Open it up. Again. Tan from the trainer. Looking at my legs, legs are tan. Well, I don't go in tan, trust me. Me putting miles on a bike, I ran 8.5 miles the other day. Just to say, and with no music. So I'm taking souls. Goggins style, I'm taking souls. All right, there it is. Hip, iso MPs, internal, external rotation, 3 to 5 repetitions. All right, guys, so that's a wrap. Again, just another part of my mobility programming that I do throughout the weeks. Primarily, it's gonna be on a Monday and a Wednesday, sometimes on a Sunday too as well. But if you wanna find out more details on the protocols, the programs, the methods that I use, go ahead and check out the link in the description for the mentorship course. Again, we're doing a 50% off sale, a limited time, so make sure you get on that. Link is down below. Also, if you wanna train any of the programs that I have available now, you can go to the website, darustrong.com, or hit the link in the description. Also, if you wanna rock some of the new apparel, right, type A, you can go ahead and check that out too as well. Link is down below. Make sure you subscribe, hit the notification, hit the like button. I'll see you again next time. Peace.